Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Round Two podcast. This is Nikki, your host, and I am super excited. Number one, because I'm sitting in my closet recording, so there should be no echoing, no trucks backing up. Maybe I'm being a little bit too nitpicky, but I heard those things on the last episode. So if you did too, I apologize, and we're doing our best to not have that happen again. But I'm also excited because I have my friend Andrea on with me today. And she is not only amazing, but she's absolutely hilarious. So, no pressure. But I'm excited to have this conversation with her and share it with all of you. So, Andrea, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Do you want me to start with just cracking jokes? Is
I
that
mean, that's really the expectation at this point.
I'll just go straight to the stand up. Um, so yeah, my name's Andrea. I live in Franklin, Tennessee. I've been here about 4 years. I'm a native Californian, well, Arizona Californian. I'm a mom. I've got two kiddos, Grace, who's 13, and Easton, who's 11, and a husband who's 44 and a half and bright-eyed.
I'm glad you threw the half in there. How many months is that?
See. We've been married. I'm embarrassed to say I think it's 16 years, maybe it's 17. It's so bad that you stop like we've just been together. We've been together actually for 22 years, I think.
Because you guys met in college, right?
We met in college, but we didn't date until we both moved. We were actually like a total Harry when Harry met Sally. We
Uh-huh.
were just buddies. I mean, like we wouldn't even hug. Like we would just watch football and hang out and make each other laugh. And then after like 2 years of doing that, we were like, all right, like we're pretty much in love with each other, right? And
Oh, that's cute.
went from there. So yeah. And I was gonna say I own a boutique. I owned a boutique, but I just closed it to open a newer, bigger, better, badder
Yeah.
that's going to open in February, and it's called Society. It's a total dream come true. I get to build out the space, and it's ladies clothing, which I love. So it's been a total dream come true, but it's funny. It wasn't my first dream
Yeah.
because when I was little, I'd say like, I don't know, from middle school on, I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live,
Oh,
like
okay. So you've always been had the funny gene.
always. And I think it's from my brother. I definitely get it from my brother, who ended up being my writing partner actually, but he is super funny, super witty. And I think we would sit there and watch Saturday Night Live, or we'd record in living color and watch sketch
Yeah.
comedy. And like we would quote it all the time. I'm sure my older sister and my parents were like, ugh, but like it would reenact sketches. And I loved it, but I didn't ever think that that's what I wanted to do for a living. I just knew I liked I loved laughing. I still do. I love making people laugh. That's really
Yeah.
like always it. It was like a rush. Like, ooh, I got them to laugh, right? So it was always kind of my favorite thing. So both my brother and I went to University of Arizona, studied film and television. I mean, I don't really think we studied much.
Yeah, it's tough to go to college in Arizona where it's sunny all the time and fun and you just want to drink.
That was pretty much it. Just drinking at dirt bags, and yeah, that was it. But he had graduated 2 years before me and went into the entertainment industry, and I followed in his footsteps, and he helped me get my first job, which was for an actor, a personal assistant for an actor.
Oh, fun.
And this actor had his own sitcom. Well, it was a pilot.
Okay.
And so I was just his personal assistant, and basically, did the typical personal assistant stuff, which is like
Coffee, laundry, or dry cleaning, that kind of stuff.
when it's for the wife, which I did a lot for the wife. It's all,
Uh-huh.
like buying extravagant gifts for
Yeah.
one celebrity and dropping them off to another celebrity's house. It was a lot of
In
that.
like your Honda Civic, right? Like drive.
Created a Tercel. I was like, All right, driving through LA, like, yeah, but it was fun. And at 21, it was, it was cool. Like,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I got to go to the Tonight Show and meet Jay Leno and go to Madonna's house and all these different things that I'm like, this is cool. You're 21. Like,
Yeah. Well, especially back, God, I'm gonna age ourselves, but like, especially like, 23, 24 years ago. I mean, it's funny. It's so funny to me thinking how, I saw something the other day where it was like, wait a minute, like 20 years ago was 2002, not 1980. Like, what?
oh, it's so sad. It's
And I'm like, oh yeah, like when I talk about when I lived in LA after college, and someone's like, oh, I lived in LA after college too, and I'm like, oh, neat. And they're like, what years were you there? And I'm like,
true.
2000 to 2004, and they're like, oh, I was there in 2018. I'm like, yeah, we are not the same.
Like, you were a baby. You were
Yeah.
a baby when I was there. I know. Really
Yeah, we
sad.
we have a chat for our fantasy football team or league, and it started popping off last night because of a trade from McCaffrey is now on the 49ers. And so one of
Yeah.
the girls in our league who is actually a coworker of mine, she was like, "Oh my God, we're going to the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then I was like, "Oh, that guy got traded to the 49ers." And she's like, I've never seen them in a Super Bowl, like, or I've never seen them win a Super Bowl as an adult." And one of the other girls in the league who's our age, she was like, "Wait a minute, how old are you?"
You were at Candlestick Park?
She's like, "You were born in the 90s? What?"
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in between running those errands and doing that stuff, the best part was going to the sitcom set
Yeah.
or sitting my office for the actor. He was like the head guy, the head actor on this show is all about him. And it was actually a great time slot too. It got picked up, but it was in between like Friends and Will and Grace. Like, it was a
Oh,
great
perfect. Yeah.
and I got to be on set around all these different sitcoms and stuff. But the best part was my desk was right outside the writers' room,
Oh, awesome.
the writers' pit. So all these writers had different offices, and then they'd run out and say, like, I had this idea, for this. So I was sitting there, and they're just, it's mostly men at the time. It really is the comedy industry is very dominated by men.
Hmm.
It's mostly all these guys just cracking each other up.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm
so
like,
awesome. Did you just sit there and just laugh all
yeah,
day?
this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I have great girlfriends and I love making girls laugh too, but nothing makes me feel better than winning over a group of funny guys
Uh-huh.
because they're like, oh, she's funny.
Yeah.
You know? So like, so winning over these professional writers,
Yeah.
not to mention my boss and all that, like, was like my ultimate goal. Like, they need to know, like, I'm pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I thought I was, but I don't think again, I didn't think I wanted to be anything other than, I don't know, an assistant at that point. I don't really know.
Right.
And I got some validation. Like, a couple people were like, you're really funny. Like,
Yeah.
you should write that down. And I came up with a concept for an episode, and they're like, write it. Let's see it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I remember just having that super excitement where I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do this for a living. So basically, the next 10 years, that show did not get picked up for another season, unfortunately. I
Okay.
did write it. I did write a spec script. I had
Awesome.
everything. I mean, I was like ready, but unfortunately, it didn't get picked up. So then the next 10 years were really a million different jobs. Once you know you want to be a writer, the key, especially a television writer, the key is to be a writer's assistant
Oh,
because
okay.
you learn how to write the scripts, and you learn how to edit, you learn the whole process, but it's grueling.
Oh, I
It's
bet.
grueling and the worst for someone who is not detail oriented, bad at spelling.
Uh-huh.
I was not good at any of these things. I'm like, just let me write the dialogue. Just let me
Yeah.
write the dialogue. I can do it. And so in between kind of the shitty, like I worked for some really bad shows that didn't get picked up, or like one was on like some Christian network that was just like, I'm like, this is the worst show. Like they can do better. So you have a million of these, jobs. I worked for horrible producers and directors and all this stuff. So long story short, after 10 years, and actually one thing that did happen that was great is my brother, who's my writing partner, we wrote a script. We ended up getting an agent at
Oh,
CAA,
nice.
and sold this script. But what you hear, I'm sure you've heard these stories before, whether it's, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon or whoever writing people, they write for years and years and years, or they have an
Yeah.
idea for like 10, 15 years. Like, we're
Right.
making this movie for this long. And you're like, what?
Yeah,
And it
yeah. Wasn't
finally,
that how they got even Good Will Hunting? They'd been like working on it for forever.
I think so.
Yeah.
So the entertainment industry is very much a long game.
Hmm.
And if you are not tolerant,
Hmm.
meaning of difficult people, bad pay, bad hours,
Hmm.
it won't work.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what happened to me. I went from this was my dream to where you think this is what it's going to be,
Yeah.
and you see what it is, and you see kind of what happens to people. And I think I was like, and you're treated like shit. And I'm like, I don't I don't think this is what I want to do anymore. And it's hard because I'd worked 10 years for it.
Right,
I
right.
just wasted 10 years of my life thinking this is what I wanted. And it was about the time that I'd gotten married. And I had gotten pregnant, and I went back to work after I had Grace, had my daughter. But after that time, I'm just like, my tolerance level was zero. I was not good. I was not
Yeah.
good anymore. I didn't want to be an assistant. I didn't want to even write anymore. And if I did want to write, I wanted to write alone, a script by myself. I didn't need to do some of the other stuff that came along with it.
Hmm.
It was a really hard decision to walk away from something that I got
Yeah.
really close. And that industry is very much like that. You can be so close, like it's you're one meeting away or one yes away, whether you're an actor or writer or developing a script or producer, whatever. The second, this it can make or break you with one decision and one thing. And I think you get enough of those,
Yeah.
enough of it didn't work out, or we got close, or this we made a couple films that went to different film festivals and all these things. You have enough negative experiences that I was done. I was
Yeah.
burned, and I was like, at this point, and it was really hard to admit. And I don't know if other moms have ever felt this, because being a mom is very rewarding, but it's very much it's respected, but not as a job.
Yeah.
No one's like, it's my career, right? You don't get paid for it, you just do
Right.
it. But all I really wanted at that stage in my life, and it was totally embarrassing to admit because went to school, I wanted to be a professional. All I wanted to be was a mom. I'm like,
Aw.
I just want to be a mom. Like,
Yeah.
really what I want to be. I do just want to make cookies and hang out with her.
Yeah.
Like,
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome.
there isn't, but I think at the time I definitely felt like there was,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's based on how I was raised or just, I don't know. I felt
Well, probably like society too. I mean, there's all these different pressures, and they're certainly different for women and working moms. And, you're juggling so much and wearing multiple hats, and the expectations on women as parents are different than the expectation on men as parents. And I can only imagine the different levels of, anxiety and guilt and frustration and, being hard on yourself that all of that brings.
yeah, for sure. And I went and I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and I did love it. Now, not, I mean, there are plenty of times when I hated it too, I mean, but I did love it when they were really little.
Hmm.
When they started to get a little older, like actually it was about the time when maybe Easton, was about 4 or 5. I could see that he was going to be going to school soon. And I kind of started to feel this like, who am I? Because when I go to school, what am I going to, I'm not just going to be like
Hanging
baking
out.
at home, like
Right.
I will always make myself busy. I'm that sort of person. Like I always have a to-do list of something, but I didn't I could already feel that I was just a mom and I didn't want that identity. I didn't want my kids to only see me as a mom. I wanted them to be like, "Oh, no, you're mom, but like you're this, 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 and this."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Well, I mean, I guess." I started to write a book actually with a friend, started to do that. I got super self-obsessive with my body. I'm like, "Okay, my body's my job. That can be it." So did every sort of challenge,
Yeah.
I'm doing 2 a days. I was like totally obsessed, but like that was not fulfilling. It was
Uh-huh.
it actually was worse. It actually made me um, more self-obsessed and more about myself. And I think I was looking for something that I could share. And I think for
Oh,
so long it
uh-huh.
was my humor or something. And this was just like, I just it wasn't fulfilling what I thought it would be. Cause I thought, well, maybe I'll own a gym or maybe I'll become a personal trainer, but like it didn't speak to me the way uh well, I had ended up meeting this friend and she told me that she was a stylist
Yeah.
for Stitch Fix.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I set my own hours, I style from home. I get paid decent, like it's really great. And I'm like, and I've always loved clothes.
Hmm.
I already was like, when I shop, I buy like, I'll call a friend or I'll call my sister and be like, okay, I found this really cute. Do you like this one or this one? Or
Uh-huh.
buy it anyway. I'm like, I got this for me. Got this for you. Just send me money or whatever.
Yeah.
I was already kind of doing that. And just the way she was describing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. So she was able to get me an interview. I nailed the interview. I got the job. And working for Stitch Fix it was perfect because while my kids were at school, I could do that for 4 or 5 hours. So it was totally fulfilling because it gave me an identity that I
Mhm.
hadn't had for so long.
Yeah.
Like for so long, I just felt like mom. And
Yeah.
this was
Well, and
like,
then you're like helping people pick out clothes that like they put on and they feel good about themselves. So it's like, oh, this is like so like it's such a feel good type situation.
it is, it's the best. That was the best feat when you would get feedback
Yeah.
from each client. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, she nailed it. She knew exactly what I was trying to do or what I wanted." So that by far is the best part about being a stylist. So after I did that, I styled like thousands. It's boot camp. Like you have like a quota that you have to meet.
Oh, okay.
Very much like boom, boom, boom. Like you have 15 minutes to style one.
Oh, I also thought it was interesting when you said you interviewed because I guess I was always more under the assumption that working as a stitch fix, that's a mouthful.
It is.
Stylist was more along the lines of like signing up to sell Beachbody or
Yeah.
something.
No, it's actually and you can only get hired if you live within 50 miles, I think, of one of their headquarters. And there was one in, I don't know where. I mean, I was living in Orange County, but I interviewed in San Diego. That's where it was.
Okay.
Um, yeah. And so it was boot camp. So I already had some, stylish instincts, but
Mm.
in order to learn fit and fabrication and brands, which came in later, very key. Um, I learned a ton. So I it was kind of grueling, but I loved it for a while. And then I left and did independent styling and just would style friends, family was all referral, and worked primarily through Nordstrom because they had the best return policy ever. So
Yeah.
I would be
They
able to buy.
still have a good return. I mean, I buy things online, but the closest one to me closed. But I
Yeah,
mean, I remember I worked there again
yeah.
forever ago, and that was during the era of when someone had returned a tire or whatever. You
I
know?
remember that story. I'm like, is that true? But yes,
Yeah.
it is that good. I mean, like even if this happened to me, I bought a pair of Valentino heels, and I don't typically buy. designer stuff that often. I mean, I will splurge occasionally.
Sure.
But I did on these Valentino heels, and I wore them like 3 times, and the heel on them kept breaking, like the little piece that is in the very, very
Oh, at the
bottom.
bottom. Yeah.
They give you extras, like they do get worn out, but this was like I wore them like 3 times and they kept falling out. And I think I had them for like 6 months, and I brought them to Nordstrom, and I'm like, "Listen," and they're like, "Okay." I'm like, What?" They're like, "Yeah, you can return these." I'm like, "Okay,
You're like,
great."
"Yes, okay, huh? All right. I'm okay with that."
Amazing. But it's funny with my store now, I always joke, we live in this very small little town, and Franklin and Williamson's county is pretty small, but I'm always like, I am the Nordstrom of Tennessee. And I
Nice.
that is one of my return policy, and it has not been abused,
Yeah.
is anytime. If you're not happy and you want your money back, you get your money back. Like,
Yeah.
why would it be like, "I'm sorry, no." It's like, "Yes, it didn't
Yeah.
work out. That's fine." I mean, and most of the time it's not abused. Now, if someone returns something that's in a totally different season, I will still return it, but it's not ideal because I
Yeah.
can't sell it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I
But
remember hearing stories too of like people cleaning out their closets and finding things with like Nordstrom stickers on them. And this might have happened when I worked there. It was like someone brought like a tie back or something. And it had been in their closet for like 15 years, and like the husband had never wore it. And I'm like, this was probably $9
yeah,
15 years ago. I don't think we could even scan it into the system because it was so old. I'm like, you
no
want it?
sold anywhere, sir.
Yeah, I don't even know how to return this.
Yeah. Um, so I was doing the styling in Orange County, and then Brian and I decided to move to Tennessee in 2018. His company relocated here, and he didn't have to move, but we came out for like a look trip. We're like, "Oh, let's just look,
Yeah, check it out.
maybe." All his clients are all over, so again, we can live wherever. And we thought we'd be in California and Orange County where we were forever, but came out, we saw that we could have a ton more space for the money. We thought maybe this would be great for our kids.
Space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I mean, great. It sounded great, even though I didn't exactly know where Tennessee was.
Yeah, right.
I'm
You're
like,
like, let me look at the map here.
I know it's in this region here. I know
Yeah.
it's above Florida and
Yeah.
below Ohio. And it's landlocked, which freaked me out. I was like, what do you mean? Where's the ocean? I don't get it. So it was a little weird. But yeah, we came out and we're just like, let's do it. Why not? Why be scared? Let's you only live
Totally.
once. Let's have a whole new life. Let's flee. Let's flee California. And we did. And
But
it's
California before fleeing California was cool.
no, we did. We were the first. We were the first. We were here before everything.
I can't believe that it was 2018. I don't know why. I feel like you guys like just moved there.
And so do we. It's crazy how fast time flies. But
Yeah.
and about I started to build my book of business here with clients like in our neighborhood and stuff. And Brian was the first to be like, I'd been doing styling events at different boutiques around here.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and he came and saw me at one of them and saw that I was styling people and like selling. I was selling clothes. And remember we were driving home or driving to dinner or something. He's like, would you ever want like your own store? And I was like, you shut your mouth when you're talking to me. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, like I haven't even allowed myself to think that big. But what woman doesn't want her own boutique? Of course,
Yeah.
I would love my own store. He's like, well, maybe we should look into that. It was a huge mistake on his part because if
Because you're like, all right, here's all my research.
yeah, it takes no time. Once it's like the seed has been planted, I'm like, boom, I'm off.
Yeah, you're
So
like, this ain't an oak tree, buddy. This is gonna grow quick.
totally, totally. Like within a week, I'm like, I found a location. He's like,
I found a
I
location.
have a location. I have a name. Like it yeah, it was crazy. So we opened up Goldfinch. That was the name of the store 3 years ago. And then within a month of it opening, COVID hit. So it was like, what? What do you mean? But it was a very unconventional store anyway. I called it kind of a stylist studio. It was a
Okay.
stylist run boutique. So it was a little tiny store on like a little country road. It wasn't like I was in like a mall or somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of, I mean, people wore masks when they came in, but it wasn't like I ever had more than one or two people in the store ever anyway. So
Okay, that makes it
I only,
easier.
I only had to shut down for like 2 or 3 weeks. So
Mhm.
it's, and our whole neighborhood where everyone was in denial with COVID anyway. So it was worked out well. So I was just like, and I started a delivery service.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh,
the,
that's great.
yeah, I just dropped everything off to their porches. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you want this? I went online really quickly and did that. And then, so where we are now is we're opening up this new one in February simply because I need foot traffic. And there was an opportunity in a shopping center that
Oh,
was
awesome.
ideal where it's super close to where I'm still going to keep my same customer base, but
Uh-huh.
find a bunch of other people too. So
How
that's
fun. That's so exciting.
journey, and it's kind of weird where I've gone from one to the next, but next thing. But um yeah, I kind of feel like that's life. I mean,
Yeah.
very few times are you like, I'm going to do this, and then at the end you're exactly where you thought you were going to be. So it's definitely changed a few times in my life, but I don't think I would change it. There's times when I'm like, oh, I wish I was sitting in a writer's room, or I wish I was, you know, seen something on the television, or something, or I still get ideas where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
great. But I think that part of me realized that I don't need to get paid to make people laugh.
Yeah, totally.
I if I and I don't I make people laugh on Instagram.
Yeah,
you know
you do.
like now that's how I do it. So
Oh my God. I love that. It's funny when my mom and I were traveling this summer. I don't know what we were talking about. We were walking at some point, since that's all you do in Europe is just walk and walk and walk. So we're walking somewhere, and I'm sure we walked by some boutique, and there we saw something, and my mom follows you, and she brought you up, and she said something about your closing Goldfinch and opening the new one. I think it was around the time where you were still trying to decide on the name. And so we were just chit chatting, and then like literally within 5 minutes, maybe I said something, and I said, "Oh, Andrea, blah blah blah," and she goes, "Who's Andrea?" And I go, "Are you joking?" I go, "We were literally just talking about her." She goes, "We were?" And I'm like, "Andrea, she owns Goldfinch," and she goes, "Oh, I didn't know her name."
I
Because
think
I just think of her as the Goldfinch lady. I'm like, okay, fair.
that's the one thing with Instagram that is like, I like that way better, because if it was my name, I don't, as we all know with Instagram, it's very self-indulgent. It's lots of like, look, everybody come see how good I look, right?
Totally.
But at the same time, that's part of my job. So I try and acknowledge the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
But I also am like, no, but seriously, look at how good I look. You guys need these pants.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But I don't think, at least I try not to be the like, I just wanted to jump on here. And it's just like, oh God.
I know. I know. That is what's so funny about social media is it's like angles and lighting and all of the things. I mean, we're all guilty of it, right? I mean, anybody who follows me on Instagram knows that I love the freaking lighting in my office hallway. And now the girls who sit in that hallway, they just see me walking down around 2 o'clock, and they're like, "Oh, it's selfie time." I'm like, "You're damn right it is. It is because the lighting, you can't beat it."
People will come into the store and they're like, oh, you look good in everything on Instagram. I'm like, right. Do you think I'm going to post the shit that I don't look good in? I'm like, this is
Right.
the things that I pull over half my leg. And I'm like, nope, I'm
Nope.
not going to show that one. I
Right.
can't show it. I
Yeah.
can't show it. But I'll be honest that I'm like, hey, I had to size up because these look ridiculous on me at this size.
Totally.
But
Well,
yeah,
and
I mean,
that's
I only show what I look good in, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm not going to put something on where it does not flatter my body in any way and go, hey, come try this on.
When you buy these, if you too want love handles,
Yeah, right. I know. That's what's so crazy about clothing is that you can be at your best self for your height, your weight. You can be truly like great and look great and try on the wrong thing and look like you have on a trash bag
yep,
or look like you are 150 pounds heavier than you actually are.
yep. And that's why it's so important to dress for your body type
Yeah.
and why it's so important to have good lighting in your dressing room.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that top light coming down. You need
Oh.
both the top, the forward sides. You need
Well,
it all.
that's like Nordstrom. That was one of their downfalls was their lighting or is their lighting in their dressing rooms because it is like, oh, look at every single imperfection on my body. It's going to be amplified in here. So I
So
would
it's
always tell myself if I try something on and I look good in the Nordstrom dressing room, then I'm going to look like a supermodel anywhere else in the world.
totally. It's true. I feel like so in Orange County, I had access to so many Nordstrom. Like it was like
Yeah.
4 or 5 within 20, 30 minutes. Um, and they all kind of had different dressing rooms. So like some of them were okay, but some of them
Oh,
were like, what? Come on, you
yeah.
guys. You want to sell clothes? Like people, no one looks good in this.
No, yeah. The one that was the store that was in Sacramento that is now closed it was just horrific. I mean, you could be having the best day and feeling like you are literally Giselle, like walking down the runway and go in there and be like, maybe I should just call it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just stay home. I'm just gonna stay home. I'm not going out. Nope. Just gonna wake up tomorrow and try again.
Or not.
Yeah.
Just stay in
Or
bed.
just stay in bed.
Or not.
Just stay in bed. Eventually, the bed sheets can be just my robe.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. So now who are going to be your neighbors in your new space and what kind of clientele like are you anticipating? Is it like near a college? Is it young? Is it like women like us in our 40s thriving and living our best lives?
Yes, it is actually. I love it because my customer is me.
Oh, great.
It's all women, primarily women in their 30s, 40s. And they all still want to look cute. They all still want to wear the stuff that's, whatever's cool and hip.
Yeah.
They'll say hip. I don't think they do. That's
I
the
don't
first thing about being hip. Don't say hip.
don't say hip. I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you, I have to Google like everyday jargon on a regular basis or acronyms. I will be like, what does that mean?
I definitely,
Just to try to feel like I can even communicate with half of the people that I work with.
yeah. It's like all acronyms and abbreviated everythings.
Yeah,
But
or words that like are very normal that now have a meaning that you would never anticipate or guess.
yes, totally.
Yeah.
The great thing about my location is it's in like apartment homes. So I think it's going to be some younger women, like younger
Nice.
families, and next to a grocery store. I'm not directly next to a grocery store, but in that shopping center. But I love that I'm next to F45. So it's going to be like a health
Oh, yeah.
pool. I love F45 too. So I'll probably just work out and just go there.
Yeah.
And then a restaurant right next to me on the other side. So it should
Perfect. Get like the tipsy post happy hour, post
Well,
lunch.
unfortunately, it's a breakfast place or a brunch and lunch. So
Oh, well,
actually,
perfect.
yeah, it'll unfortunately. No, it's called Biscuit Love. It's like a famous place here in Nashville. So I'm like, crap. I'm like, they have to try and close before they eat biscuits.
Yeah, that's true.
Or
Although, if you have biscuits and mimosas, you kind of forget you had the biscuits and then can go try
that's
on.
true. That's true.
Some of
And then
my best shopping has been done after a heavy wine lunch.
I know you feel like you're like, I can do that.
You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Like this credit card has no problem being exercised right now.
So basically, I should get a liquor license,
Yes, exactly.
drug my clientele
Yeah.
to buy.
And then everything they try on will look and feel fantastic, regardless of the price point.
To a fault, I mean, in the kindest way possible, but because of my styling background, I'm the first to be like, nope, not,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the way you build trust with your customers anyway. You
100%.
perfect for you. And you're like, yeah, like back fat rolls. Well, that's not perfect for you. Maybe this would be better.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Oh God, I know. And I think it I don't know. What I personally love about fashion right now is that it's there's so many options, which sometimes can be a detriment in any aspect of life. If you have a million options, you're like, how do I choose? But I also think that it's so common now that there's this mix of like high fashion, low fashion. There's the Amazon fashion, there's the fast fashion, there's all these different things. But I know for me, once I figured out like what kinds of things work for my body and what kinds of things don't, it's made it that much easier and that much more fun to try different things and then to go, okay, well, I have these overalls and I need like a, black crop t-shirt. Well, I'll just order that on Amazon because it'll be here tomorrow. And no one's going to know if it's Amazon or if it's, Louis Vuitton. Not that they make like a black crop t-shirt, but that was my.
And that's how I used to style clients. It's how I tell people to do it now, and how I set up the stores very much high low. But yeah, for a basic, I mean, obviously you want decent quality unless you're only going to wear it a few times, but decent quality. But I mean, do not buy $100 t-shirt. I
Yeah.
mean, unless it's got Dolly Parton on it, then okay.
Right. Right.
You can do it. But like for the most part, don't spend too much on the trend pieces that
Yeah.
going to be in next year. But you know what? Buy the $350 leather jacket that you're gonna wear the next 10 years.
Totally.
It's worth
Totally.
it. It's
No, that's such great advice because, yeah, you will have it for forever. And as someone who has bought a very nice leather jacket and also bought a Target pleather, vegan, whatever word is cool these days, and it literally, I mean, I did wear it for a few years, but then one day I was wearing it and I was sitting down and I looked down and there was these little black, like flaky things on me. And I thought, what is that? Like, what did I rub against? So I kind of brushed them off.
yeah.
And then later on, I noticed they were there again. And then I realized it was because the jacket was literally falling apart.
Yeah.
Like, and I ended up leaving it in a trash can in Arizona because I was like, I cannot handle, like, it was everywhere. Like the bathroom was covered and I was like, oh my God, okay, this thing is officially done.
I had a friend that we were in Cabo, we were dancing all night. She was wearing a white romper and she got home and her spray tan was, it was a brown romper by the end of it. And I just remember she just took it off and just like basketball, like 3-pointer threw it.
Yeah,
She was
just
like,
done.
nope. Right. For a Cabo romper, don't spend a lot of money.
No, no.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking with, oh, I met up with one of my high school friends for coffee the other day. And she's got 3 kids, and her oldest daughter is 14. And we were talking about how, different things were when we were kids and how we shopped at like Mervyn's and Wet Seal, both of those stores I don't think exist any longer, and how maybe JC Penney's, maybe Macy's if it was for like a nice dress that we needed to buy. And she was saying how it's so crazy how her daughter had been getting ready for a school dance and she wanted to order this dress from some website and it was like $100, and she was like, we can order you like this same dress from Amazon for like $22 and it'll be here in 2 days. And then you can make sure you actually, she was like, oh, Mom, we're not ordering something from Amazon. And she's sitting there being like, well, we're also not ordering you $100 dress for a dance because, hi, you're 14. But it's just wild to me, even like going back to the town that I grew up in, there's a college there, and seeing college kids and they're in like Lululemons and Ray-Bans. And I think back to when I was, 19, if I would have told my mom I need $90 workout pants that I'm not going to work out in, that I'm just going to roam around campus, she would have laughed so hard and just hung up the phone on me.
Yeah. I know, but it's funny. I'm in the same boat having a 13-year-old, and she is the exact same way. She's like, on her Christmas list is like four different, like the Lulu Align jacket, and then these and that, and I'm just like, oh my gosh! And she's always trying on mine. She's like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because you're like 4 pounds. Doesn't work yet, Grace. But um, I lost my train of thought with that, with how she shops for stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
because I was saying how, like, kids are wearing things that like we are wearing, but as
yeah,
working,
I
contributing, like, and they expect the same stuff.
and so I thought, I'm like, oh, I definitely was not this way. But then I do remember desperately wanting Guess jeans, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
couldn't afford them.
Uh-huh.
But my sister had gotten like a hand-me-down pair. So my mom just kept taking off the little and
This
resewing,
triangle. Yes.
and would resew it onto mine, like just because she's like, I'm not buying you in fifth grade, I'm not buying you Guess jeans.
Right.
So I guess it's the same thing. I mean, except I'm not gonna put a Lululemon sticker on the back of a non-Lulu thing. But
Right. Sure.
yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely is worse. It's definitely worse now, but
When
I do remember some of it.
when we were kids, there was an Esprit outlet
Well, I remember that in the city.
in the city. Yes.
I lived in
And
Brooklyn, so we would go there.
oh, okay, yeah. So I remember that was like a treat where once a year we would, and it was my neighbor from across the street. Her mom took us, I remember the first time, and I was like, I got home, I was like, Mom,
Yes.
this place is
It
amazing.
was awesome.
Yeah. So then it was like once a year we got to go to like our pilgrimage to the Esprit outlet.
You'd
To,
like dig through bins to find stuff.
yes, the
Yeah.
bins
Yeah.
with the discounted last season, and it was everything.
I do remember that. That was so fun.
So much fun. Well, this is super exciting. I can't wait to come visit and have you style me, and then we can sit and talk about all of our epiphanies as women in their I do you feel weird saying mid 40s?
Yes, but it's funny. Brian will say, I think when I was 38, I would call myself 40. And when I was 40, I'd call myself 45. And I'm 45. And I'm like, well, I'm basically 50. He's like, stop it. I'm like, I can't stop. So I feel like I've been here, but yeah, yeah, it feels weird. It feels weird seeing other people turn that age, because you're like, but you really, you're that age? Huh.
Yeah.
Hard to I don't know, to
It's
see it yourself sometimes. It's like, but I feel 28.
right.
Yeah.
That's where I get stuck because I feel like, or I remember thinking when I was, 24,
Mhm.
that by the time I was 30, I would have X, Y, and Z all figured out and my life would be like this, and that. And then I got to 30 and I kind of equate it to I've never been someone that kind of takes inventory and is like, oh, I thought I would be somewhere different by now.
Sure.
But I more look at age the way I look at travel when I'm going somewhere that I've never been. I always create in my mind what it's going to be like. And
Mhm.
then I get there and everything I've thought it was going to be like immediately just disappears because now I'm there and I'm experiencing it and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is what it's like," and I'm feeling it and touching it and tasting it and all the things. And I kind of feel like age is the same way where I now have come to the realization that it's I'm never gonna be like, oh, I feel a certain way because like you said, I still feel like I'm like just 28, 30, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then it's also all this wisdom
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
experience.
Brian and I always joke because we'll like be at a restaurant, we'll order like a salmon salad. We look over and there's like a couple that's like pounding cheeseburgers and fries.
Yeah.
And we, like, look at each other and we're like, oh man, I can't wait till we give up. Like, when are we gonna give up? And
Right?
I don't know if we ever, someone was like, you won't. You either have that to where you like just are that person, or you
Yeah.
just don't. You will always be trying to be better. And, I don't know. But yeah, I'm like, I can't wait till I don't care anymore. Like about how I look, or I can eat
Oh,
what I want. We can get fat together. It's going to be great.
that's funny that you say that. This one podcast that, I mean, you can listen to it, but they also are on YouTube. So I always watch them when I'm doing like housework and stuff. And it's a husband and wife one. And they were talking yesterday, or I was watching yesterday. I don't know when it came out, but they were talking, and she said, what would you rather do with like no consequences? She was like, would you rather just be able to eat like a savage, or would you rather or would you be rather be able to do heroin whenever you wanted? And,
Oh
and I was like, okay, those are two like completely opposite extremes. But he ultimately was like, he's like, I'd rather be able to eat like a savage because then I could still like live life. He's like, oh, but if I'm doing heroin all the time, I'm just kind of like laying around, right? And so it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, and I know I think about that too because sometimes, I mean, I love food. I mean, I've always loved food. I love cooking. I love eating. I mean, when I travel, like so many, I've been to a lot of places that aren't, at the top of most people's lists.
yeah.
And when people ask, like, well, why did you go there? Why did you go? I'm like, the food, the food, the food. It's always the food. Um, but, but yeah, I mean, if there was no physical consequences with eating, that would be just a world in which I don't even know what it would be like.
No, there's one. What's her name? Molly Sims has a podcast. It's really good, and she asks a question to her guests. It's like pizza, pasta, cheese, and is it fuck, kill, marry?
Oh
Which
yeah.
like would you fuck pizza, kill cheese? Like which one? And I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good one, but I don't know because I love it all. I think I would probably marry pizza because I could have it every day and never get sick of it.
Really? See, I would kill pizza because pizza doesn't do it for me.
Not for you.
No.
Okay. So what about cheese? Are you a cheese person?
I would marry cheese all day long. I
Okay.
mean, give me a block of cheddar and a knife, and I'm a happy girl.
I think I'd kill cheese and fuck pasta. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love pasta when it's done right.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm not gonna go to Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Um,
Talking about like Italian like
yeah, but give me like a restaurant that does like house-made pasta, and when they're posting on their Instagram stories, like the guy making it,
yeah.
and you see the whole thing, and I'm like, yes, like there's this one restaurant in downtown Sacramento. Oh my God. When their pasta special, there was this one back in February, March. I- It it was so good. Like we went there for my birthday dinner, and it was my mom, dad, brother, and I, and two of my best friends. And we talked about that pasta. Like the number of times that we talked about that particular pasta dish over the course of the next 2 months, and also individually all three of us would go back because we would be like, someone would be like, oh, like you want to have dinner? I'm like, oh yeah, let's go to Camden because they have this pasta special right now and it is like orgasmic. And
You should,
we're like, how many times are we gonna eat this pasta? Because it was so bomb.
you should just send them to just after this, just a text, just be like, hey, remember that pasta? Like, hey, remember that day?
Remember that day? Talked about it again.
Well, you'll
Hopefully
have to tell me the name of that. My brother just moved to Sacramento.
he did.
Yeah, so
Oh, right on.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'm sure I'll have to
Oh,
go
cool.
visit.
Where did they? Oh, well, you can tell me off. What's his address?
Well, they're very wealthy. They have things. No security system.
Yeah.
Um,
Doors are always unlocked.
he has
Everybody's
very low
welcome.
muscle mass, so you could definitely.
I I know that's fun. I know it's funny because like you're sitting here and you're like, I don't know who's listening to these things, right? So I'm like I try to be vague and then I'll say something and I'm like, well, that wasn't vague.
Yeah, exactly. Under the imagination.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, I'm super excited to watch society unfold for you
Yeah.
because I mean, I've bought a handful of things from Goldfinch that are still in heavy rotation. I
Mhm.
actually just I found a dress. You know when you have things hanging in your closet and like they get moved just slightly that you can't see them? Yeah, I found a dress that I bought from you the other day and I was like, there I knew I had looked for it. I was like, where is this dress that I know I haven't wore yet? It's because it was hiding. It's no longer hiding.
The
Yeah.
other dresses were jealous, and they just were like, "You
They
move back there."
moved back there. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, you look great and everything. So
Oh, well, that is not true, but I appreciate that you for saying that.
pretty amazing.
You know, it's funny though because my mom ordered me this jumper a few months ago, and she texted me a picture of it. She's like, "Do you like this?" And it was like very colorful, and I like very colorful things. And she's like, "I think it would look great on you, and if you do, I'll order it for you." And I was like, "Wow, that's so sweet." So I said, "Yeah, that's super cute." When I tell you, I mean, it sat like nowhere near my waist. So it looked like my waist was, twice or three times the width that it actually is. And
Uh,
so just everything in it, I looked like I was just basically a rectangle when
yeah,
I put this thing on. And I was like, no,
yeah,
no.
wrong.
And then I do love now though that with so many retailers, they give a lot of choices for why you're returning it.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right. They
so you
do.
can actually give like decent feedback as to why. Have you ever ordered from that brand Cider?
I haven't. CIDER.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I've ordered twice from it now. Once was a skirt, which was fine and
Yeah,
whatever. And then I ordered these overalls because I love an overall. Um, I think I mean, it's certainly China based.
yeah.
So I think their models are all very, very short humans
Mhm.
and who they cut their product as very short humans because I am not that tall.
Yeah,
And they were I was like high waters. Like I was like, I can't even let these out to get them to the length that I would need them. So how is anyone taller than me going to wear your clothes?
give them,
Cider.
give them to some child that you know.
Exactly, right? So anyway, that was a bummer since they were cute.
I'm short. I might be able to wear some things
Yeah, you should check it out.
for sure.
Well, thanks for coming on and chatting with me.
It's awesome. I'm so proud of you. These I've listened to all of yours. I'm a
Oh,
huge fan.
thanks.
So
Thanks.
you do a great job. And the second I heard the concept for the show, I'm like, oh, I definitely have a story. I feel like that have definitely a second round. It's happened a few times. I think that's life. Happens a few times, couple different
Yes.
turns, and
Yeah, and then it's like, and then you look back and you're like, wow, I never would have expected this, or I never would have thought that I would be here. And that's kind of when I've been talking with different people about coming on. I'm like, it doesn't always have to be like something horrible. It can
right,
be a positive. So I'm
right.
trying to get a good mix of both
Yeah,
because I think it's interesting and also fun. And
yeah.
you don't always want to be like horrible things have happened. But
No, I
I
haven't.
love the I love the learning. I love the, how did I get here? And then I look back and then now I'm doing this and I'm fulfilled in these ways. And, I mean, even like you were saying earlier, like I decided to just make my body my full-time job. And one of the things that popped in my head was, well, that sucks for your cookie making.
Totally, it did. I had to scratch that. No more cookies.
Right?
They're back in the rotation now. They're back.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. There's nothing like a good cookie.
Man, I know. Do you guys have crumble cookies there?
Actually, yes, they put one in the shopping center that is 5 minutes from my house.
They're delicious, but then I saw some TikTok that like ruined it for me about all the like crap they put in it and like
I
poison.
saw something about that where they like use box cake mix for one of their cookies, and I mean, while I agree that that adds something, it's
Yeah.
also a little disheartening. I'm like, it's Duncan Hines. Like,
Wait a second. Yeah.
although, here's something that I think. So, like, I have a deep, deep love for cookies, and when I was younger, I had a babysitter who lived down the street,
Mhm.
and she would bake with me, but she was one of those total like freaks when it came to the dough, and she was convinced that if I ate any of the dough I would get salmonella from the eggs. And so she would never let me eat any dough, and she would scrape the bowl to get out like every last morsel. So like I couldn't even lick the bowl. So I started making cookies on my own, and I made it my mission to make the world's best chocolate chip cookies. And I can confidently say that mine are really, really good. Because the CEO of my company, he also is a total cookie monster. And have you guys ever ordered or heard about Last Crumb from LA?
No.
Okay. So they're, you know, they've marketed themselves in a way so it's very like, oh, you got to get this week's drop and blah blah blah. So, and they're insanely expensive. I think they average out to like $13 a cookie.
Oh,
Now, are they delicious? Yes. Do I think that they need salt? Also, yes. Am I admittedly someone who loves salt? Also, yes. But I will say that like I don't think I'm wrong.
yeah.
Now, I did make my cookies and I brought them in and I gave some to my CEO and he told me that they're better than Last Crumb. And I was like, you are welcome. But here's something funny. He got another shipment of Last Crumb the other day, and I know this because he sent me a video to taunt me because I'm currently not eating sugar. And I was like, thank you, and I also hate you. But then one of the girls at work the other day and I were talking, and she's like, wait, she's like, do you know how many calories are in one of those cookies? And I said, no, I'd never looked because I ate the whole thing. So I threw the wrapper away because I didn't want to know. She's like, they're like 1,200 calories. She's like, and I think they have like a half of a stick of butter in each one.
Well, are they like a huge cookie?
Yeah, I mean, they're a big one. I mean, but still, I'm like, well, no wonder they're so delicious.
If you have butter in anything, it's gonna be good.
Anything.
Yeah. Oh my. Oh,
Yeah. Speaking of food, I'm starving.
yeah. Well, go eat. I need to eat as well.
And now all I'm gonna think about is cookies for
I know. I'm
the
sorry.
foreseeable future. All right, well, tell everybody where they can find you so they can online shop since you offer that as well.
Yeah. So our website will be up in a few months, but it's societyfranklin.com.
Very easy.
And it's a lot of high-low, like I said, so you can buy things from all different brands and all different price points. And then if you want to follow the store and see how it's progressing and how we're opening and all that, that's society_Franklin. And then if you want to just like be like a stalker about it and like follow me personally and style advice, which you do, we all like to do that stuff. That's Well Styled Woman, at Well Styled Woman. So there is where I'll do a little bit more personal stuff. I'll show some pictures of, me naked and just trying to get some followers, Nikki.
Trying to drum up some biz. Just trying to.
It's all like artsy quality nudes. But,
Yes.
or my fans. Is that my fans? Is that
OnlyFans. I was gonna say you gotta drop your OnlyFans. Don't leave them hanging. That's where they get the paid for feet pics.
Exactly. Brian doesn't know about that one, but there's lots of feet dipped in peanut butter and honey. Yeah. So.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again for being here. I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening. You can follow the podcast at Round 2 Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. And we will be back next Monday. Thanks again.